In a recent interview, FTX founder and CEO Sam Bankman-Fried was asked what the most underrated cryptocurrency is, and his answer was Solana. Now, he said this is because of all the bad press that Solana has received in recent months, bad press that even Sam acknowledges was deserved. So, this begs the question, is SBF right about Solana? Today, I'm going to briefly explain what Solana is, bring you up to speed with some of the project's most important updates, and tell you why Sol may in fact be one of the most underrated cryptocurrencies. Now, before we get sunny, there's something you need to know about this bunny. I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't help you with your money. I'm just an educator who's occasionally funny. So please contact an actual financial advisor if your portfolio is looking runny. Also note that I hold Sol as part of my portfolio, but it's not my honey. Now, if this is your first time in my presence, my name is Guy and crypto is my essence. My mission is to create high-quality content that will help you stop being a fiat peasant. Coins, tokens, news, and reviews are just a few of my lessons. So if you want to make sure you don't miss a session, smash that subscribe button and ping that notification bell with aggression. Okay, that's all you need to know about me. Let's see if Solana is about to go red or green. If you're unfamiliar with Solana, here's what you need to know. Solana was founded in 2017 by seasoned software engineer Anatoly Yakovenko. Solana was built by Solana Labs, a software company based in the United States, and its ongoing development is coordinated by the Solana Foundation, a non-profit based in Switzerland. The project raised around $25 million across various ICOs in 2018, 2019, and 2020, and raised an additional $314 million from various crypto VCs last year. Solana's mainnet went live in the spring of 2020, though it is still technically in beta, and it's not entirely clear when Solana will enter full release. Under the bonnet, the Solana blockchain uses a novel proof-of-stake consensus mechanism that leverages a technology called proof of history that makes it possible to timestamp transactions. Although the Solana blockchain is currently secured by over 1,900 validators, transactions are processed by smaller groups of up to 150 validators called Solana clusters. This centralization, along with Solana's sub-second block time, makes it possible for its blockchain to process between 50 and 65,000 transactions per second, making Solana the fastest cryptocurrency. Now, Sol is Solana's native cryptocurrency coin. It's used to pay for transaction fees, half of which are burned, and the other half of which go to validators. On that note, Solana's low fees are a part of why its blockchain has experienced so many outages. Low fees have made it possible for bots and bad actors to spam transactions which clog up the network. More about that later. Now, in addition to paying for fees, Sol is used for staking, and though there is no minimum stake, the hardware requirements to run a validator are so high that Anatoly says you need to use a data center. Luckily, delegation is possible with no minimum stake. Staking rewards are currently around 6% per year for validators and delegators with a 5-day lockup. Note that misbehaving validators are slashed. Staking Sol and interacting with Solana's ecosystem can be easily done using the Phantom browser extension wallet, which has been downloaded over 2 million times on Chrome-based browsers alone. While Solana's popularity was initially due to its DeFi protocols, lately its NFT projects have been luring hundreds of thousands of users to its blockchain every day. It should come as no surprise then that, according to CryptoSlam, Solana is the third biggest blockchain by NFT sales volume behind Ethereum and Flow. More recently, Solana's ecosystem has been pivoting towards payments and blockchain gaming, with the creation of products such as Solana Pay, which continue to onboard new merchants and users. Circle's USDC stablecoin has been at the center of this initiative, which makes sense given that Solana is apparently USDC's official blockchain. Now, all of this is quite a deviation from Solana's initial purpose, which was to become a decentralized alternative to centralized stock exchanges like the Nasdaq, hence why Solana is FTX's de facto exchange chain. The last thing you need to know about Solana is how its long-term transaction history is stored, and this is something that we got wrong in our last video about the project. We thought that Solana's transaction history was still being stored by a decentralized storage crypto called Arweave, yet it seems that Solana recently switched its transaction history storage to Google Bigtable. This makes the Solana blockchain even more centralized than meets the eye, and you can find out more about the different layers of decentralization in cryptocurrency using the link in the description. Anyways, it's only been about 4 months since we last covered Solana, but a lot has happened since then. In early May, the Solana blockchain went down for what must have been the 8th time, though I've honestly lost count, as many others have. In a postmortem, Solana explained that the 7-hour outage was caused by a, quote, enormous number of transactions being submitted by bots, which spammed the network into submission. A couple of days later, Solana announced the introduction of transaction requests to Solana Pay, making it possible for merchants to request payments for goods and services within a user's Solana Pay app. As a cherry on top, Instagram announced that it would be supporting NFTs on Solana, Ethereum, Polygon, and Flow. Keep your eyes peeled for that one. In mid-May, Solana's Wormhole bridge expanded to support Algorand, something that not everyone celebrated, given fears around Wormhole's security. Recall it was hacked for $320 million back in February. Solana's Magic Eden NFT marketplace also surpassed Ethereum's OpenSea marketplace in trading volume for the first time. At the end of May, Solana's Wormhole bridge expanded to support crypto projects in the Cosmos ecosystem, starting with Injective Protocol. The Chinese government also announced that it would be banning Solana's popular play-to-earn app Steppen, causing Steppen's GMT token to crash. In early June, the Solana blockchain went down yet again. This time, the outage was caused by a bug that's used in cold storage transactions on the blockchain. The next day, crypto oracle Chainlink announced that it had added native support for Solana, allowing its DeFi ecosystem to access its decentralized data feeds for more accurate crypto pricing. 2 days later, Steppen was reportedly hit by a cyber attack which apparently didn't affect the Solana blockchain. Shortly afterwards, Solana Ventures established a $100 million fund for blockchain gaming and DeFi in South Korea, a timely decision given the collapse of Terra just 1 month before. An independent DeFi ratings organization called DeFi Safety also gave Solana the second worst score of any cryptocurrency, citing its blockchain's constant outages, centralized node hosting services, and lack of transparency around long-term transaction history and storage. Ouch. At the end of June, there was more Solana drama when the Solend DeFi protocol suddenly passed and then unpassed a proposal to take away the soul of a Solana whale who was at risk of getting liquidated. It's believed this liquidation would have crashed Sol's on-chain price to abnormally low levels. Solana's Magic Eden NFT marketplace also raised $130 million from various crypto VCs, bringing its valuation to a whopping $1.3 billion. And last but not least, Solana announced a crypto phone called Saga, which will leverage the Solana blockchain, the Solana Mobile Stack, or SMS, which is a developer toolkit for the phone, and a $10 million incentive fund for developers to create apps for the upcoming phone, including an app store. The Solana phone was met with mixed reviews, especially since many crypto phones have come and gone over the years. Never mind all the issues with the Solana blockchain itself. Anyhow, in early July, Solana got more bad news when a class action lawsuit was launched against the project, alleging that Sol was sold like a security, in this case by Solana Labs. If you watched our recent video about the criteria the SEC is using to crack down on cryptocurrency, you'll know that this is a big deal, as a securities designation could potentially kill the project. In mid-July, research by CoinMarketCap found that the number of new wallets on Solana was growing faster than any other cryptocurrency, probably because of its expanding NFT ecosystem. At the end of July, a DeFi project called Unstoppable Finance argued in a Medium post that Solana was more decentralized than people think, and let's just say it wasn't all that convincing. In my opinion, the only metric that suggests Solana is decentralized is its Nakamoto coefficient, which refers to how many validators are required to corrupt its blockchain. Solana has the third best Nakamoto coefficient of all major proof-of-stake blockchains, behind Avalanche and Polkadot. Now, Solana also announced the opening of its first physical store in New York City, which founder Anatoly Yakovenko believes will bring over 100,000 users to the Solana blockchain every month. The store features Solana merch, NFTs, and will probably carry the Solana phone once released. Now, another Solana-related headline from the end of July was the news that Aptos had raised an additional $150 million from various crypto VCs, bringing its total funding to $350 million. For context, Aptos was created by developers of Facebook, aka Meta's failed cryptocurrency Diem, formerly known as Libra. Got that? Aptos has apparently labeled itself the Solana Killer, so watch out. Earlier this month, Solana's Magic Eden NFT marketplace expanded to Ethereum, where it intends to act as an NFT aggregator rather than a standard marketplace. And because Solana can't begin a month without bad news, some 10,000 Solana wallets were suddenly drained of around $10 million in cryptocurrency, while Solana developers scrambled to figure out what was going on. In the end, it appeared that a Solana wallet called Slope had been saving and storing wallet seeds in a centralized manner, resulting in anyone who had a Slope wallet or had created another Solana wallet using a wallet seed they had initially created on the Slope wallet, losing their SOL and SPL tokens. If you were one of the people affected by the hack, I'll leave a link to a form provided by the Solana Foundation in the description. I suspect that there may be plans to compensate affected users in the near future. To make things worse, CoinDesk then reported that Saber, one of Solana's largest DeFi protocols, had allegedly faked its total value locked through various methods, and that its creators, the Macalinao brothers, are now planning to do the same thing on the aforementioned Solana killer, Aptos. Yikes. For what it's worth, just a couple of days ago, Jump Crypto announced that it will be creating a second node hosting service for Solana, which means that its blockchain will become ever so slightly more decentralized. Now, all the bearish headlines that have been coming out about Solana over the last 4 months have predictably caused Sol's price to plummet, but, believe it or not, this doesn't seem to be the primary cause of the crash. As you can see, Sol's price is highly correlated with BTC's, which makes sense given that it's a large-cap altcoin with institutional exposure. Obviously, they and the rest of the crypto market crashed because of Terra's collapse in early May. At the same time, Sol's circulating supply has increased by anywhere between 15 and 20 million since April, according to CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, respectively. For the sake of simplicity, let's assume that Sol's circulating supply has increased by roughly 17 million. With an average price of around $40 per Sol since that time, this means that Sol experienced up to $680 million of sell pressure from stakers and early investors, which is a lot during a bear market. As far as I can tell, most of this sell pressure is coming from the Solana Foundation, which has issued over 130 grants, according to an April interview with Anatoly Yakovenko. Now, I can't say for sure because it's not entirely clear what Sol's current vesting schedule looks like. Now, some of you might recall that Sol's initial vesting schedule was one of the most aggressive of any cryptocurrency, so much so that it should have crashed Sol's price early last year. The silver lining is that the demand side of the equation is looking good, at least according to the analytics page on SolScan. The number of daily active wallets continues to hover around 700k, and the number of daily token transfers is still in an uptrend. What's more is that institutional investment vehicles for Solana still hold around $120 million of Sol, despite the crypto bear market, according to Just ETF, with the recently released CoinShares FTX physical staked ETF alone holding $40 million of Sol. Sol's price action is also looking interesting from several angles. In terms of raw price action, Sol could potentially pull a 2x if the current recovery rally continues. This doesn't sound like much, but if the rally does continue, it would be a larger percentage gain than other large-cap altcoins. That's why there's some legitimacy to Sam Bankman-Fried's remark that Solana is underrated, and there's some more evidence to suggest that Sol could see a serious rally if the current crypto market momentum continues. Some of you may have noticed that Solana, Avalanche, Near Protocol, and other so-called Ethereum killers have been rallying as the merge approaches. This is no coincidence, as there are many traders who are likely trying to hedge their portfolios in case something goes horribly wrong with the merge. I mean, it's one of the main reasons why I hold Sol as part of my portfolio. Now, take a look at the Sol versus ETH chart on the weekly. Do you notice anything? Call me crazy, but I see a pattern where Sol loses value relative to ETH for around 5 to 6 weeks at a time before seeing a 1 to 3 week rally against ETH. Well, it's been 6 weeks of decline, and with the merge less than a month away, we could see another multi-week rally against ETH, all while ETH is simultaneously gaining in value relative to BTC and hopefully in fiat terms too. This would translate to that 2x gain for Sol I mentioned a few moments ago. Speaking of which, if you're wondering what the merge means for Ethereum, you can find out using the link in the description. Anywho, even though Sol could 2x in the near term, the fact of the matter is that we're still in a crypto bear market, and this means that the current recovery rally is unlikely to last. What happens to Sol after that ultimately depends on the project's upcoming milestones. Solana's upcoming milestones can be found on the Solana GitHub and in interviews with members of the team. Starting with Solana's GitHub, I couldn't help but notice that there are a few repositories related to governance that are seeing lots of commits. This suggests that Solana devs are in the process of building a governance dashboard for the Solana blockchain. As far as interviews go, founder Anatoly Yakovenko dropped some alpha in April about Solana's long-term aspirations, and that's to have all stocks tokenized and trading on FTX's Serum DEX, which is of course built on the Solana blockchain. In a May interview, Solana Labs co-founder Raj Gokal dropped some more alpha, and that's that the project is turning its focus to blockchain games to continue its adoption. So keep your eyes peeled for promising projects on that front. During the June presentation, which revealed Solana's mobile phone, Anatoly also teased an upcoming partnership with Qualcomm, the famous telecoms company where he spent most of his career. Raj mentioned during the same presentation that Solana is in the phone game for the long haul, as they believe this is another route to the global adoption of its blockchain. Naturally, this suggests that there will be a second Solana phone, and that might be when the Qualcomm partnership comes into play. In a July interview, Anatoly mentioned that Solana is also starting to focus on privacy and is working to fix Solana's fee model so that it becomes more difficult to break down the network with spam transactions. No dates for that, I'm afraid. I also didn't hear any dates about when Solana will enter its full mainnet, and Anatoly has suggested in many interviews that it could be years, given that he likens Solana's development to Google products like Gmail, which were themselves in beta for years. So, this brings me to the concerns I have about Solana, and my first concern is all the outages its blockchain continues to experience. Make no mistake, if these outages continue, Solana will fall out of favor with regular users, even though the crypto VCs and institutions don't really seem to care. As amazing as it is that Anatoly and the team are working towards fixing Solana's fee structure, it's only a part of what's been affecting its blockchain. The other element appears to be centralization, which is getting better in some respects, but much worse in others. Case in point, in an April interview, Anatoly admitted that the hardware requirements to run a validator node on Solana are likely going to increase as time goes on, meaning Solana could become even more centralized and potentially more vulnerable to synchronization issues as well. What's scary is that Solana's outages seem to only scratch the surface of the state of its blockchain. If success rate of transactions on Solscan's analytics dashboard means what I think it does, then around a quarter of transactions on Solana fail to go through, even when the blockchain is fully functional. Now, this is actually consistent with my own experience using the blockchain, with transactions failing every so often. To be fair, this doesn't happen nearly as often as it used to, and Anatoly and the team have repeated many times that they will continue fixing these issues as they go and Solana grows. I only hope that they address my second concern, and that is transparency. The Solana Foundation was allocated 12.5% of Sol's total supply and controls the Community Reserve Fund, which received 38% of Sol's initial supply. In other words, the Solana Foundation was allocated more than 50% of Sol's supply, and it sounds like they've been spending quite a bit of it, as per Anatoly's comments. That's why it's shocking that there have been no transparency reports since June of 2020, and it looks like that was the first one. This ties into my third concern, and that's regulation. With the SEC looking to crack down on crypto projects, Solana is an admittedly easy target. Besides being based in the United States, it ticks many of the boxes that the SEC is looking at when classifying a cryptocurrency as a security. Now, to be clear, I am not saying that Sol is a security, and according to the Howey test, it's not a security. As I mentioned earlier, however, it seems the SEC is clearly using a different criterion than it's supposed to be, and that's where Solana could become a target. That said, Solana's appeal to institutions could very well protect it from any serious scrutiny. Consider for a moment that FTX is actively lobbying politicians about crypto regulations and seems to be making some serious progress on that front. It's also important to remember that Solana seems to be the preferred hedge against anything going wrong with Ethereum when it transitions to proof of stake. If there's even the slightest sense of uncertainty, you could see some serious capital flee from ETH into Sol out of caution. Then again, it's possible that this capital could instead flee from ETH into ADA if Cardano's upcoming Vassal upgrade brings the scalability improvements that everyone's expecting. You can learn more about what Cardano has been up to using the link in the description. And that is all for today's Solana update. If you found it informative, smash that like button to let me know. If you want to make sure you don't miss the next video, subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell before you go. If you want more from me, you can check out Coin Bureau clips or tune into the Coin Bureau podcast for crypto rabbit holes you can't miss. You can also follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram and get your daily dose of crypto updates by joining my Telegram. If you're wondering what other cryptos I hold as part of my portfolio, you can subscribe to my weekly newsletter to know. And if you want to support what we do, head on over to the Coin Bureau merch store and get yourself some cool crypto-themed hats, hoodies, or tees that suit you. You can find your way there using the links in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Guy bidding you goodbye.